assume. You're hungry. Isn't it like 1 a.m. Okay, here we go. Playing some dude from Norway. Gran. Jan Svensson, if you guys know who that is. Shout out to Jan. Okay, we're gonna play my pet opening against Sicilian, which I have honed, beaten grandmasters with, most notably Alexander Kostenyuk, also Paolo Blem. So now e6, g6, yeah, this is all standard. Bishop g7. Gonna threaten mate. Yep. So we're gonna do some scholars mate. Let's go. Scholars mate. Let's go. Let's go. So pawn takes knight, queen takes pawn mate. So the point is I want to develop my queen before getting the knight out. So the best move here is knight to h6. f6 is a big mistake. You don't want to block your bishop out. So knight h6 is best. Knight f6 also blocks the bishop. It depends where he goes. If he goes like e6, then knight b5. If he goes knight h6, then knight e2. So it depends where he goes. But this is all theory. We'll do Selcon. We'll do. Alright. So this guy's giving it a little bit of think. I don't think this guy knows this opening, so I feel like I'll have an advantage. He might make a mistake soon. So like knight f6 looks like a logical move, but it's actually a mistake. Because knight b5 basically just wins this pawn. Or it gives me a very strong attack. Like knight b5, queen b6, I can play e5 there. I just win a piece. Right, okay, so e6 is not good. Not good. So now knight b5. Now I think I'm better. So again, if queen b6, queen f4 just wins. His piece is like at checkmate. Okay, so now d6. So now I think queen a3 here. I believe. So queen a3, king e7. Yeah. Queen a3. Yeah, that's kind of the point. Kind of the point. So now bishop e5, I have d3 and f4. So if d3, a6, I can just play f4. Because if pawn takes knight, queen takes rook, pawn takes bishop, pawn takes bishop. Okay, so bishop f8. Now I can just simply take on d4 and just be up a pawn. So I think I'll just do that. Anything tricky I can do? I don't think so. Because d5 is a little bit of a threat. But now after knight takes pawn d5, I can just play bishop b5 check. We studied this already. So yeah, d5, bishop b5 check, and then I can play like queen d3 or queen e3. Bishop b5 check.
Check.
Check. As the nice lady informs us. So now bishop d7. And now I actually think queen. Yeah, queen a4 is possible. but then he can take on e4. So like, I kind of want to defend this pawn. Well, I mean, it's gonna obviously be a queen move. Queen d3 is ugly looking. I agree, but I mean, if he takes, I'm gonna take back with the queen and then just be up a pawn. If he takes with the pawn, I can play queen takes and then play knight takes and then just get ready to castle. So queen c3, he has rook c8, which gains a tempo, and queen e3 might expose itself to like bishop c5 pins. So I think queen d3 is probably the most principled. It looks a little awkward, but like this queen is not staying on this square, I don't think, for very long. So I think it's fine. And so if bishop takes, I'll play queen takes. I can even play knight takes. I mean, it's really no big deal. But being up a pawn and like his king side's completely undeveloped, so um, so even though this bishop is a little wonky, I mean his whole king side's completely undeveloped. I mean he played bishop g7 back to f8, so it's going to take him at least 3 moves to castle. So in that time I can either play b3 bishop b2 or d3 bishop wherever. I mean, right? Okay, so now I mean I could simply just snap on d5. I could play e5. E5, knight g4, f4 could be good. And I could also just take in castle. Seems pretty simple as well. So e5, knight g4, maybe queen g3 there. Maybe. So e5, he has to go knight g8, maybe? Or maybe e5, knight e4. And he wants to go to c5. So, I mean, I think just taking is fine. I'll just castle next move. So yeah, he takes with the knight, and just castle, I guess. I could play c4, but then knight b4 is a little awkward. Maybe c3 first. Maybe c3 first. Stop knight b4. I don't think it matters. Yeah, I don't think it matters. I'll play c3. King a2 would not be the good move due to forks on f4. Okay, so now I can just castle. If he takes on d4, I can take on d7 first. That's the point. So like if bishop takes d4, I wouldn't play like pawn takes, but I just take on d7 first. Then I take the bishop. So he doesn't want to trade this bishop for this knight, in all likelihood. Okay, so here... I mean, I could just play knight to f3. Well, maybe take the bishop, then play knight to f3. Seems fine. I mean, his bishop is bad, I guess. If it gets to c6, it could be a little annoying. So... I'm just... Yeah, I was thinking b4, but like... I mean, I kind of want my bishop on this diagonal, not on this diagonal. I feel. So I think I just want to put my pawns on b2, c3, and d4. Yeah, a4 makes some sense too, I guess. But then just a6 kind of puts the question to the bishop anyway. And I don't know if I really want to be playing a4 and weakening this square. So I think just taking seems fine, and just knight f3. I mean, knight b3 makes some sense too. But then after b6, like my knight kind of gets shut out. Whereas on f3 at least, it's heading for g5 or e5 or something. So yeah, my next two moves are going to be a queen move, not sure exactly where yet, and then d4. That should just be fine. Maybe on a6 I play a4. I mean, I'm just up a pawn. I kind of just want to trade everything. Yeah, it's 7 on 6, so I'm not really planning on playing anywhere, really. I just want to develop my pieces. Because now I am slightly behind in development, so... But, I mean, he's not really doing anything of great import. Like, I mean, his knight's pinned. Yeah, okay. So, here, I guess just queen e4 makes the most sense. So now I'm not walking into a knight f4. c4 wasn't really a threat, because he could play knight b6, and then my pawn is kind of awkward on c4. I kind of want my pawns on c3 and d4. And now I have ideas of like knight e5 after d4, maybe even like queen h4 and bishop h6, try to engineer some sort of mating attack. So pawns on dark squares to limit the scope of his bishop. Try and engine some sort of kind of attack. Not engineer. So yeah, I mean he can play something like queen b6, I guess. Black plays f5, just queen h4, and then, or actually I could just take on e6. I could just take on e6. My bishop is ugly for now, but once I play d4, it won't be. Once I play d4, it won't be. But yeah, f5 just hangs the e6 pawn, so I can just take on e6, then take on d5. Yeah. Yep. So I mean, I'm just up a pawn, and he really has no compensation. Not that I see, at least. I mean, his knight, the c3 pawn kind of boxes out his knight. Yeah, I mean, well, his bishop's technically good, but I mean, it has no target, so yeah. I mean, like I said, maybe queen h4 and bishop h6 is an idea. But I want to play d4 first. Give it the scope it deserves. Right, yeah, it's true. I mean, his bishop's not doing much even now, because it's kind of biting on granite on c3, which is part of the reason why I played c3. Because I had to kind of anticipate where his pieces were going to go. So that's why I'm putting my pawns in those squares. So it kind of related to what Derek was asking. So yeah, a little bit of time advantage. Nothing too serious, but I mean. Right. Okay, so he wants to play a4 and a3. So I might actually end up putting my pawns on like a3, b2, c3, and d4. It looks kind of awkward, but if I play a4, that might become a target. I mean, I guess with my queen on the 4th rank, it's not going to be that much of an issue. But I guess the question is, do I play d4 right away and allow a4? Because if he plays a4, I pretty much have to play a3. Because if he plays a3, he ruins my pawn structure. So the question is, should I play a4 now and stop a4 by him, or play d4 right away, and then if a4, I have to play a3? So I don't think he can really make much use out of that b3 square, because his knight's on d5, so it takes 4 moves to get to b3. But, I mean, it does look kind of ugly, and my bishop might be stuck on c1 for a little while. Or I might have to play something ugly like rook b1. So I feel like a4 gives my pawns a little bit more mobility without sacrificing too much. Although, if he plays something like rook c8 and then queen c4, might be a little weird. So like the question is whether I'd rather have my pawns on a4 and b2 or on a3 and b2. It's a good question. I think a4 is fine. Maybe he wants to play queen c4 and then b5 and then try to play a4. All right, let's actually just try this. Let's just try this. Okay, so now a4, so now I have to play a3. Okay. So he did succeed in creating weakness, but now he has no more play on the queen side. So now like b5, b4 doesn't do anything, for example. Now I have the